Welcome back to The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Last time, we were in Kakariko Village, but at night, and we did some side questing here and in the graveyard. This time we're gonna do more side questing, but as I said before, some things change in the morning. An example being that people actually come out and are able to be interacted with. The first thing on the list is collecting a bunch of cuckoos. If you talk to the lady near that pen over there, she'll say that she lost 7 of her cuckoos and that you need to collect them all because she's allergic to them. To which I would recommend a change in vocation, because if you're allergic to cuckoos, why would you be handling cuckoos? Finding them isn't very much of a chore. You just kinda have to explore the village, and they do make a distinctive sound when you get near them, so it's not that difficult to find them. However, getting to them is a different story. As you saw, there was one on a pretty high ledge that we couldn't get to. We're gonna have to jump off of another ledge with the cuckoo in hand in order to reach it. One of the things that cuckoos can do is that if you jump off of a ledge with one of them, or if you really make any kind of vertical distance, so say you're going down a steep ledge, you'll start floating as you have the cuckoo in hand. Here, I'm showing it right now. Look at that, you can fly. Well, you kind of fly, just falling with style. But you need to do that in order to collect this cuckoo and a couple more of them. Another thing about cuckoos is that they like to run away from you after you've thrown or dropped them. I know that action icon only says throw right now. Usually for items, if you stand still, it'll say drop, and if you're running, it'll say throw. But if you press the shield button, you'll just take your shield out and not throw it. It'll basically fall exactly where you were. The thing that I'm trying to say is that if cuckoos are dropped or thrown, they'll kind of stay still for a little while, and then they'll start to run away from you, which you can kind of like abuse their AI, I suppose, by making them run toward the pen. That hole right there, you do not want to fall down it, at least not while doing this side quest. There's a chest with 20 rupees inside and some grass, but if you fall inside, you're basically resetting the area, so you're going to have to collect all 7 cuckoos again. Another thing about cuckoos, and this is actually true for a lot of animals in the Zelda series, is that if you try to attack them, they'll attack you back. It'll take a while, like you'll have to keep hitting the cuckoos over and over, but eventually they'll let out this battle cry and summon a ton more cuckoos to come in and swarm you, and it's not a fun time. As you can see right now, Navi is green. I suppose this is as good a time as any to talk about the different colors that Navi changes to depending on the situation. When Navi turns green, it means that there's something you can interact with, such as a cuckoo or a sign that you're able to read. When Navi turns blue, it means that she's talking to a person, or at least she's hovering near a person. And when Navi turns yellow, it means that she's hovering near an enemy. Navi is actually the reason you have lock on in this game. At least that's what they tried to say, and they kind of ruin it in Majora's Mask 3D, where they have something at the beginning of the game that wasn't there before, and you can lock onto it even though you don't have a fairy at that point. And in all the other games, Link can just naturally lock onto things. But in this game, it's Navi that's the reason that you can lock onto things, and believe it or not, that actually comes into play a lot later in the game, where there's a situation where Navi being the thing that locks on for you is kind of important. The last cuckoo is right around here, but I'm not going to be grabbing it for the time being. First, I want to talk to this guard here. He's controlling the gate, and if you talk to him normally, he won't let you pass. He'll say something like, go read that sign, it says that you can't pass. Oh wait, you're just a kid, you can't read. Showing off his douchey nature. If you show him Zelda's letter though, he'll say that you can pass, and he notices that it's Zelda's handwriting. Although I don't know why just having a letter from Zelda will let you pass. I guess if you don't say yes, she'll like execute you or something. Afterwards though, he'll talk to you a little bit, say some kind of useful stuff. The first thing he says is that you should equip a proper shield. I already have a proper shield, I have the Hylian shield. But he says that if you go to the shop in Hyrule Castletown, that they'll give you a special discount because he said that they would. I haven't actually ever gotten the shield like that. I don't know how much of a discount it is. I think the shield normally is like 80 rupees or something like that, which is pretty expensive because before this point, you would have only had 99 rupees in your wallet. The other thing that he talks about we'll be getting into later. Right now we're just gonna take the final cuckoo back to Anju is her name. But the second thing that he talks about is the Happy Mask shop. After opening the gate, it opens in Hyrule Castle Town. It's a different kind of shop. Rather than buying things, you borrow things to sell to other people. This guy being the first person, he says that he wants a specific mask from there and he wants you to get it for him. But we show off our cuckoo wrangling skills and Anju decides to give us a prize. It's a bottle. Again, most useful item in the Zelda series, so of course we would want a bottle. The Happy Mask shop though is going to be the next thing that we do in my route for the game. I find it to be most efficient, I suppose. It's also a nice side quest to do. I just like doing it. It does require going a lot of back and forth between a lot of places in Hyrule, but I suppose that's kinda also why I like it. You're going to a bunch of different places and talking to a bunch of different people. It's a very world-building experience. As for the shop itself, it's at the back of Hyrule Castle Town Market area. I keep calling it by different names, I don't know why I do that. Anyway, this guy is the Happy Mask salesman. He's a pretty important character in the next game, but we're not playing the next game, we're playing this game. As for the first mask that he has to borrow, because we're not going to actually buy the mask, it's called the Keaton mask, and the way the guard describes it is that it looks like a popular character, which I suppose gives you the idea that it's supposed to look like Pikachu, because it kind of is. Although in the next game, they say that it's more like a Japanese fox called like a kitsune or something like that. Our goal in this side quest though is to borrow whatever mask is up for borrowing and take them to whoever wants them. The masks don't really have very special effects. I mean, some of them kind of do, but the one thing that this mask does is basically it gives you flavor text depending on who you talk to. Like someone will say, oh, that's a cute mask probably, but if you talk to specific people, and by specific people I mean the people who actually want the masks and will buy them from you, they'll ask you to sell it to them, and overall you're going to be making a profit. Like, the mask costs 10 rupees usually, but he gives us 15, so we earn 5 rupees. Then we have to go back to the Happy Mask shop and pay back the 10 rupees that we got for the mask. Something a little more meta in the time that we're taking to get back over there. I mean, I'm going to be cutting to it, but this kind of relates to that actually. I am kind of digging editing. I don't know why, but it just kind of seems fun to me that I walk out of the Kakariko village and suddenly bam, we're in the Happy Mask shop, and it seems seamless, and that makes me feel good on the inside. As for the next mask that we're getting, we're not going to be able to sell it to the person that wants it for a little while. We're going to be making some more plot progress first. In fact, making plot progress first actually makes it a lot easier to get to the person who wants this mask. To get to plot, all you gotta do is head back to Kakariko village. I'm just gonna put the mask on to show it off, and go back to where the guard was that was in front of the gate, and just go on through and you'll be at Death Mountain. This mask actually has a special effect, or I've read that it has a special effect. I haven't actually used it, but what I've heard that the special effect is that you'll be not noticeable by Keese anymore while wearing the mask, which is kind of neat, I suppose. Keese are essentially the bats of the Zelda game, and the way they attack is that when they see you, they try to dive bomb you, and the way I fight them is I kind of use that to my advantage and I hit them while they're dive bombing me. So the skull mask isn't that useful to me, and it's not gonna be the one that I'm holding on to for a very long time. These enemies here are Tektites. They're a red variant of Tektites. They aren't very strong. 2 regular swings with the sword ought to take them down, but I'm just not going to deal with them because I find them kind of annoying how they hop around a lot. It just makes them a bit difficult to hit, let alone try to hit them twice to kill them. Unless you land a jump attack, then you'll take them down in one hit, but it's not very easy to land one. This guy right here, I'm not going to talk to him, but he's a Goron, and he's the race that's about to come up. Gorons are a rock-based race. They are rocks and they eat rocks, though they aren't exactly the smartest race, and we'll get into why that is in a little bit. First though, we are entering the Goron City. It's not a very big area. It's actually pretty compact, more so vertical than horizontal too, which is easy to get from, you know, the top floor to the bottom floor, although you have to climb up a lot of stairs to get back to the top floor. And we're standing on a plush carpet. The thing that we have to do here is play Zelda's Lullaby. The hint to that is the guy that's right next to us. He'll basically say, oh, the chief of the Gorons is waiting for the special messenger from the royal family. The chief of the Gorons is not in a very good mood right now. The thing about him is that he's angry because, again, this is going to be talking about how I think they're kind of dumb, but the Gorons are gourmets, as they put it, and the place where they get all their delicious rocks from, called the Dongo's Cavern, is currently blocked off, and they don't have a way to open it. The chief of the Gorons, his name is Darunia, he expected that a messenger from the royal family would come, but we're just a kid, so he thinks that he isn't, you know, top priority to the people of Hyrule right now. And, you know, he's not gonna be very negotiable right now. I wouldn't be either if, you know, my main source of good food was gone, but there's rocks everywhere, probably. You could just eat those. What we want to do is we want to take fire from where Darunia's little place is, and we want to light a bunch of torches in this area. By lighting them all, we accomplish two things. The first one is that this thing spins, and apparently so does Link if you looked at that little cutscene beforehand. But now we're also able to take fire upstairs, and this is actually a really good shortcut because we're actually required to go back to the Kokiri Forest. And the way that we could go there normally is, you know, going all the way through Hyrule Field, but there's a secret shortcut right here where if you take a torch and bring it up to one of the wall bombs, it'll blow them up. And now we're in the Lost Woods. This is actually an area that we haven't been to before, but it is very close to the Kokiri Forest, and that shortcut is pretty useful for getting around Hyrule. Now we talk to Kepora Gebora again, but this time he actually says something that's pretty dang useful. He says that there's a mysterious tune playing, and in order to progress through the Lost Woods, you need to listen for that tune and follow it, basically. The Lost Woods is an area where if you take a wrong turn, you're gonna be sent back to the beginning. If you follow the path, then you'll actually make progress. I have the path memorized, but if you don't, you can just listen to the song. And you could also kind of look at the area, like, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like, if it's an exit, then it won't be completely pitch black. It'll have like this weird effect going on. But if it leads to progress or an otherwise secret area, then it'll be completely black. This right here is the forest stage. If you wear a mask here, then you'll get certain prizes depending on which mask it is. In this case, I put on the skull mask and everybody loves it, and we're having a party. The upgrade that we're getting here isn't too useful, but it's an upgrade nonetheless, so I decided that I should get it. These Dekus that look kind of weird will crowd around this huge Deku, and they'll say that you look exactly like their Sacred Forest totem, and they'll reward you because you look like something they like, and you'll get more Deku sticks. You can carry 20 now instead of 10, which is not that great because I don't really use Deku sticks for anything except lighting torches, and if they want you to light torches, they'll probably provide some. We're going to keep following the path through the Lost Woods until we get to the Sacred Forest Meadow. I would recommend that you equip the Deku Shield at this point because there's going to be some enemies here that the Hylian Shield isn't really going to be effective against. You could use it but it's not gonna really do anything. This enemy right here is a Wolfos. It's the first example of what I would call a sword-wielding enemy, I suppose. By that I mean that they try to counter and dodge your attacks. And it's not that they're difficult. It's kind of time-consuming, waiting for them to like release their block if you're a very trigger-happy person and want to keep attacking them. But if you wait for them to attack, they'll sort of spin around as they finish up their second swing. And if you hit them in the back, then you'll do extra damage. A jump attack to their back will pretty much kill them, although I'm not sure if it's just a one-hit kill or if it just does extra damage. As for the Deku-looking enemies, they're actually called Mad Scrubs. They aren't friendly at all. They'll try to kill you. And you can attack them with your sword if you get up close enough, but most of the time they're gonna hide back into their little grassy area, and you won't be able to attack them until you walk away from them. The strategy should be to block with the shield and then reflect their seeds back at them, then chase them down and hit them with your sword, but I play with such finesse that I could just come up with a sword and slash them a couple times and they'll die. That sounded a bit cocky, but that was exactly what I was trying to get across. Anyway, this is Saria again. She's just been waiting here for us, playing her ocarina. And it's a pretty special scene, I suppose, because this place isn't just a one-time visit. Actually, none of the places really are in this game. Saria kind of implies that we're going to be revisiting this area, and she's going to teach us Saria's song, which is the song that plays throughout the Lost Woods. It's supposed to be implied that Saria plays this song the whole time that we're in the Lost Woods, although at the beginning of the game you could enter the Lost Woods and just like hang out and do stuff, I guess, but the song will still be playing even though Saria should be in front of your house most of the time. It's a pretty good tune, one that's been played a lot throughout my childhood just because I played this game a lot and liked it, so I just hung out in the Lost Woods a bunch. The way the song works is that if you play it, Navi will ask you if you want to talk to Saria, and you can then telepathically talk to her, and she'll give you hints about stuff to do next. If you say no, however, Navi will then ask if you want to talk to Navi instead. It's neat, I suppose. I've never really used it because I know what I'm doing. It's also kind of useful for some side quests that we're going to be doing, and it's actually required to get through the main story, so it's a good thing that we came here. There's a little secret area in this hole over here. It's a fairy fountain. Fairy fountains contain regular fairies. I said before that there are multiple kinds. There are big fairies, which refill your health, and another thing that we haven't gotten to yet. There's the great fairies, which we haven't even, talked about or seen. And then there's these regular fairies. Regular fairies you can keep in a bottle, and if you die in this game, then you'll be revived by them. I don't need them because I don't think I die ever in this game. There's been like one time I was doing a minimalist run of the game where I didn't have anything except what was required, which means one bottle with one fairy in it, and I died one time. I never game overed, I just, died with a fairy in my pocket, and the fairy came out and revived me. When I say die, I really mean get knocked out, because Link doesn't die. It's not like there's a third timeline that's based around the fact that Link dies in this game. No, you just get knocked out, and then the fairy comes out and helps you back up. Like big fairies though, they also refill your health when you run into them. Now I'm actually going to be taking a wrong exit on purpose because I want to head back to the Kokiri Forest. There's a gold sculpture here that we couldn't get before because it wasn't nighttime, and getting it super early would mean that I'd have to go out to Hyrule Field, wait for it to turn to nighttime, then come back, get the sculpture, then go back outside and make my way to the castle while waiting for it to come to daytime because the castle doesn't open at night. It's at the back of the Know-It-All Brothers house. The Know-It-All Brothers essentially being the tutorial in this game. The tutorials are very optional. which was very nice because I didn't have to sit through a lot of stuff to get the game going. I got to the first dungeon in the first part. Those know-it-all brothers tell you about certain things like C items and what the A button does and such, which Navi and the treasure chests that contain C items eventually do tell you anyway, so they're not really all that useful. There's a side quest that we can do while in the Lost Woods that's related to Saria's song and also related to the skull mask. There's this character over here standing on top of this huge stump, I suppose, and he's playing an instrument. He ran away. These characters are pretty shy. They will run away if you try to approach them, and later on they'll even try to attack you, but for right now, we want to be a nice guy and communicate with them. Navi says that this is what happens to kids who get lost in the forest, which I kind of like to use that as proof for a certain thing that I might be talking about when I do Majora's Mask. But right now, all we have to do is play him Saria's song, and we'll get a heart piece from him. Playing Saria's song means that we're also friends with him right now for some reason. And he says that he wants his face to be a bit more different. Like, he thinks his face is plain, so if we talk to him with the skull mask on, then he'll buy it from us. I like to think that this is what gets this character into masks in general. And the character's name is Skull Kid, and there are multiple Skull Kids, but this is kind of the Skull Kid, like the big one that's important and will be in the next game. There are other Skull Kids, and they hang out around here. They also play flutes, and there's a sub-quest or side quest or whatever that you can do with one of them in this room right here. First, though, there's actually an upgrade that we can get if we make 3 bullseyes on this little thing right here. Basically means shoot in the center. Then a regular Deku Scrub will come out and he'll say that you're such an amazing guy, and he'll give you an upgrade to your Deku Seed bullet bag, so you can now carry 50 seeds instead of 40. It also doesn't matter what order you get the Deku Seed upgrades in. If you do this first, he'll give you the 40 capacity one, and then you do the one in Castletown and he'll give you the 50 capacity one. So either way you do the side quests, you're gonna end up with 50 total. If we step in this spotlight-esque looking area, we can see that there are Skull Kids here. These Skull Kids wouldn't normally have masks, and I don't think they do in like the 3D version if you did the skull mask thing first, but for some reason they have them now. And now we have a game of Simon, and this was not a fun part to record for me because, you know, the initial one is easy, it's only like 5 notes, but the next one is 6, I think, and then the one after that is 8. The 8 one I actually got on my first try, but the 6th one gave me so much trouble, and I think it's because the way I'm recording this. As I am currently set up, the thing that I'm using to record is on a 2-second delay. I think it's about 2 seconds. And so I have the audio on my computer just to make sure that, you know, everything's recording correctly. And then I have the audio off on my TV. So when I'm trying to play this game, it's on a delay. Like, I'm inputting commands a bit late or early to try to compensate, and I end up failing the minigame. And I don't want anyone to see that, so I did a quick edit just to skip past to the try where I actually got it right, because it took me like 4 tries, and they were all pretty close to the end, so it was pretty time consuming. This was more so talking about things in a, you know, a meta sense, and I know it kind of sounds like I'm blaming the game or the way that I'm recording for, you know, how things came out, and yeah, I kind of am, and I think the blame is rightfully placed, because I can probably do this really well. Although, the way I have the button layout also... Yeah, I'm just not going to make any excuses. Alright, whatever. Anyhow, the prizes for this minigame are 1 rupee for the 5-note version, 5 rupees for the 6-note version, and then if you complete the 8-note version, you get a piece of heart. So, if you're going for all the pieces of heart, or if you just like collecting things, it's well worth doing, in my opinion. This is gonna be kind of boring just watching me repeat the notes, so I actually have a topic that I want to talk about, and it's item management in this game, at least in the 64 version of the game. I'm gonna kind of be comparing it to the 3D version. In this version of the game, you have the 3 C items, and you have, B for the sword or whatever. In the 3D version of the game, you have 4 C items, well, at least the equivalent to it. You have items on the X and Y buttons, and then you have the item 1 and item 2 buttons, which are essentially extra C buttons. And it's pretty useful for a lot of the stuff that happens in this game, because a lot of the time you're going to be switching out between items, and that's a bit time consuming. Another thing is that the ocarina is its own separate button in the 3D version of the game, which means that you don't have to constantly have it equipped. So you technically can have 5 items at a time in the 3D version, with one of them locked to being the ocarina, while in this version of the game, you can only have 3, and the ocarina is optional as one of them, even though you're gonna need it throughout the entire game, so it shouldn't really be optional. Another thing is that when playing the 3D version of the game, the way the ocarina is played is different. You used A, X, Y, L, and R for the ocarina buttons rather than the C stick and the A button. I actually find the 3D version easier than in this version. Maybe it's just because, sometimes the stick likes to flick back, like the right analog stick, which is essentially what you use for the C buttons in this game. On that note, haha, next time on The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, we're gonna be getting to the next dungeon.